Afternoon, it's the 12th of March. I'm standing at the top of Royal Avenue. I'm standing in front of Belfast City Hall.
You're coming with me. Yeah, no, what's this?
And Belfast City Hall have, on our behalf, the taxpayers' behalf, have installed two new life-sized statues. And nobody really asks the price of these statues because they are expensive. And this is taxpayers' money. But anyway, I try not to be an old grump, but you've got to ask questions, folks. And this is the first of the statues over here. This is Winifred Carney. And first and foremost, she was an Irish Republican. And her claim to fame is that she was in the GPO in 1916 at the Republican rising down there against the British. And she was the last woman to leave the GPO. She was with James Connolly. But she was an awful lot of other things quite apart from that. In later life, she was a Republican and trade unionist activist up in Belfast. She was born at Bangor, and then the family moved up to the Falls Road. She was born, actually, and this is strange, she was born of a mixed marriage. Her father was a Protestant and her mother was a Roman Catholic, and the father abandoned the family and left them to their lot. And later on in life, here's the funny thing about Winifred Carney, who was an ardent Irish Republican. She in 1928, after all these events went through, she married a Protestant. But not only that, she married a Protestant who was a veteran of the World War I, and he was in the trenches in the Somme with the 36th Ulster Division, and while she was in the GPO with James Connolly, and they were being shelled by the British and all the events that happened after that. So there's a wee barricade here. I'm going to try and get over this and read you what it says in this plaque along the side. Winifred Carney made no bones about it. She carried the typewriter, and she also carried a Webley gun. So she is almost like modern day Republican activists who would say, you know, the ballot box along with the Armalite. That was the great Irish Republican saying for many decades. I don't know whether they would still say that now, but that's my understanding. So what does it say about Winifred Carney? And she condemned, you know, the linen mills in Belfast. There's her typewriter, and is she carrying a Webley? Yes, she is. So she's holding on to both. So this is the message being put out by the statue, that violence is sometimes acceptable. So what does it say? Winifred Carney, 1887 to 1943. Born in Bangor, suffragette, a committed trade unionist, she was an organiser of the Irish Textile Workers Union, became James Connolly's personal secretary, political confidant and friend. 1913, she and Connolly wrote the Irish Textile Workers Union Manifesto to the linen slaves in Belfast. There was a time when Belfast workers, mostly women and children, were working long hours in horrific conditions. Now, there's no question about that, barefoot and hungry. The trouble is, they had nothing else, so if they didn't work, they starved. And she said that many Belfast mills are slaughterhouses for the women and penitentiaries for the children, and that's actually true. As an officer in the Irish Citizen Army, Winnie was present with Connolly at Dublin GPO during 1960 Easter Rising and has become known as the typist with the Webley. I just couldn't agree with that. Carney stood for Sinn Féin candidate in 1918 elections, but in an unwinnable seat. She retained her commitment to socialism and in 1924 joined the Northern Ireland Labour Party. Here she met her future husband, George McBride, like her a committed socialist. George was from a Protestant family on the Shankill Road who fought in the Battle of the Somme. And wouldn't you love to have been a fly on the wall in Winifred Carney and George McBride's kitchen to hear their conversation? How did they ever get on? They came from they came from separate sides of the community in Belfast. Sadly, they weren't united in death. Winifred died quite young, and she's buried in Milltown Cemetery. And whenever George McBride died, he was buried in Clondyboy. I don't quite understand why that was, but there you have it. This is what Belfast City Council have decided would be good for us, and I just can't agree. But anyway, she's here, and she's here while the memorial plaque for all the men, women and children that the IRA killed in Belfast over the Troubles is round the corner in High Street, and it's on a wall where rough sleepers sleep and use as a toilet. So that's the thought given to the dead of our Belfast Troubles, while Winifred gets prime position, and I think that's wrong. Anyway, I'll go over and show you the second statue. Oh, just panning around. This is the second statue that Belfast City Council have just recently unveiled. And again, this was not cheap. And you'd think that it looked like Florence Nightingale. Well, it's not. This lady is MaryAnn McCracken, and she's the sister of Henry Joy McCracken. In fact, I would have preferred. Now, MaryAnn McCracken was a tremendous social worker, a reformer, businesswoman. She helped the poor and the needy. She worked in the poor house up in North Belfast. She established that, as far as I remember. And she was a good woman, a good lady. She tried to make life better for people. She was the sister of Henry Joy McCracken, who was one of the leaders of the Irish Rebellion in 1798. And he was trying to uphold the rights. He was a Presbyterian minister, would you believe, as were a lot of the leaders of the United Irishmen rebellion. And they were trying to make life more equitable and better for Methodists, Presbyterians, and indeed Roman Catholics. And she supported that. But it says here abolitionist, educator, social reformer, businesswoman, and there's a wee drop of Irish in there too. So let's see if it says anything on the other side of the memorial sculpture here to her. So what does it say again? MaryAnn was integral in the work of the Belfast Charitable Society's Ladies Committee and Poorhouse. Yes, that's what I was talking about there a minute ago. And the Ladies Anti-Slavery Association. So that's a wee bit of Irish for you, if you speak Irish. Feminist ideals and commitment to the principles of equality, liberty, fraternity, applying equally to the rights of women, defined her participation in the United Irish movement. And what a different place Ulster, Northern Ireland would have been, or Ireland would have been, if the United Irishmen had been victorious. And they weren't far from being victorious. And the remarkable thing is, that most of their leadership were Ulster Presbyterians, and a lot of them are buried in Clifton Street Church, Belfast. Not Clifton Street Church, Clifton Street Cemetery in Belfast. And you need to apply to Belfast City Hall to get a key to get in there. And I've done that and done videos on it and all the rest of it. Oh, MaryAnn McCracken. Gone but not forgotten in Belfast.